Sometimes those storms are as a result of our own actions. God will allow the storm in order to correct us, in order to guide us. Sometimes He leads us into the storm because He wants to perfect us. But God is the God of the storm. Make no doubt about it. He's the God of the storm. I want you to look or read along with us on the overhead. Mark chapter 4. I'm just going to share brief thoughts with you this morning. The Bible says on the same day when evening had come, this is the day that Jesus had been feeding the multitude and teaching the multitude. He said to them, "Let us cross over to the other side." And when they had left the multitude, they took Him, Jesus, along in the boat as He was, and other little boats were also with Him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat in the boat, and so it was already filling with water. But He was in the stern, asleep on a pillow. Jesus had ministered all day, He was exhausted. Taking a nap. And they woke Him up, and they said to Him, "Teacher, don't you care that we are perishing? Why did you let this happen? It's your fault." Verse 39, then He arose and He rebuked the wind, and He said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But He said to them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" And they feared exceedingly and said to one another, "Who can this be that even the wind and the sea obey Him?" I want you to know that God doesn't have to show up in the storm, as we've been talking about when God shows up. God is already in the storm. He is with us in the storm. I want to give you 3 quick statements today, just to take home and sort of think about when you win the storm, or when you're in the midst of the storm, or when you're coming out of the storm. The first one is, the first way to navigate the storm of life is to remember the promise of Jesus. Remember what He said. Verse 35, Jesus said, "Let us go to the other side." Now what He's saying to them is, we're going to get to the other side. Somebody said that when Jesus makes a statement, it's the same as a prophecy. It's going to happen. It's going to come to pass. It is done because Jesus is God. And He is the God of the storm. And so Jesus said, "Let us go to the other side." And friend, when He said that, nothing in this world could keep that little boat and those disciples and Jesus from the other side. Because He said, "Let us go." He said, we're going to the other side. And friend, I want you to know there is an other side to the storm that you face. As we've heard so vividly this morning, there's another side that Jesus wants to take us to. And so, as we're navigating the storms of life, which we'll all come into them, is remember the promise of Jesus. No wind, no waves, no thunder, no lightning. Even if the sun, the moon, the stars fall from the sky, and the earth cracks open, we're still going to the other side. Nothing could have kept them from the other side, because He said, "Let us go there." And God's promises are as sure for you today as they were for those disciples that day. And we don't often know God's promises. We're not aware of what God has said He would do for us. But that's why reading the Scriptures and being in worship and hearing the Bible taught, that's why it's important. And so when God speaks to you, you can count on it. Remember the promise of Jesus. The Bible says in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 2, He says, "When you pass through the waters, I will be with you. And through the rivers, they shall not overflow you. when you walk through the fire, you shall not be burned, nor shall the flame scorch you. He made a promise. And friend, I want you to know His promises are good. See, they couldn't drown in that storm because Jesus couldn't drown in that storm. Jesus was in the center of God's will. And friend, I want you to know those disciples were in the center of Jesus' will. They were doing exactly what He had told them to do, and He was doing exactly what His Father to do. And friend, I want you to know God will keep His promise to you. I read about a grandmother that as she got up in years, she would sit in her rocking chair and read her Bible. And that was just sort of her pastime all throughout the day. She would sit there and read her Bible. And she raised her grandson. And her grandson grew up and got married and had a family, and they lived there in the same house with her and took care of Grandma. And they would just go by her room, and there she'd be in the rocking chair. Well, it was time to have it. Grandma passed away. So they went and had the service and buried them and all that. And went back home and walked by, and there in their room was Grandma's rocking chair and Grandma's Bible laying there. And the son said to his wife and his kids, he said, you know, we really should read the Bible like Grandma did. They all agreed that they would start reading the Bible. And they began to start reading the Bible together, and they began to notice that here and there and on every page there were two little letters written, T, P, T, P. And it was written in red all the way through that Bible. And they began to notice after some period of time that those letters were written always by the promises of God. They didn't exactly know what it meant, but they knew it was the promise of God, and Grandma believed it. They knew they should believe it too. And so as they continued their Bible reading, they got down to the end, and in the back flyleaf of the Bible, there they found it. Two little words written. Tested, proved. Tried, and proved. There those words were. And I friend, I want you to know all God's promises have been tried. They're all good. And so no matter what you're going through today, no matter what you're facing tomorrow, friend, I want you to know you can remember God's promise. And when He says He's going to get you through, He's going to get you through. He didn't promise us that we wouldn't go into the storm. But He does promise us that He's got a destination on the other side of the storm. Friend, we don't know what this life holds. None of us knows how we're going to leave this life. None of us knows who's going to get cancer, who's going to have heart disease, who's going to die in an accident. None of us knows those things. But friend, I want you to know, if you know Jesus Christ, you know the destination. You know where you're headed. And friend, where you're headed is better than where you're at. Friend, I want you to know God's promises are tried and proved, and you can count on them today. Secondly, when you come into a time of storm, not only remember His promise, but rest in His presence. Those disciples, they were fretting. They were going to pieces in that storm. The boat was filling with water, and they woke Jesus up, and in verse 36 it says, don't you care that we're perishing? Doesn't it bother you? Why are you not concerned? Well, friend, I want you to know, God promises us, not necessarily His protection from the storm, but He does promise us His presence. And that's what you got to hold on to, is that when you go through it, you're not alone. And if He's with you, then you're safe. See, safety is not in being free from storms. Safety is in the presence of Jesus. If you're with Him, you're in good shape. You're going to be okay. There's no other side of the storm. And when the Savior's in the ship with you, the ship is safe in the storm. That storm grows very quickly. And that's the way that happens in our life. There Michael was going along doing his own thing, his own way, and thought it was okay. His friends tried to tell him, but he kept kind of doing his own thing. But suddenly, in that one night, everything changed. Friend, I want you to know storms are right. Might be a phone call from the doctor. It could be you go to work, find out suddenly your job is no more. It could be a phone call about one of your children. On the Sea of Galilee, that's what happened there. The Sea of Galilee is like a basin. It sits down between, surrounded by mountains. And the warm air or the cold air from the top of the mountain rushes down those mountainsides, and it collides with that warm air, warm sea air, and a storm will just erupt suddenly, a very violent tempest. And that's what happened. And when they set sail, it was probably sunny. They probably had nothing to worry about. And suddenly, they were in the midst of the water. Suddenly, they were coming undone. The ship was filling with water, and the disciples were filling with word. Jesus was at peace, and the disciples were going to pieces. Jesus remembered he was a part of the Father's plan, but the disciples forgot they were right where he put them. And I want you to know that God is the God of the storm. And by the way, storms don't always come because we're disobedient. We heard that is the case sometimes. But sometimes they come because you are obedient. The disciples were doing what they were supposed to do. Sometimes storms not because we're wrong, but because we're right. You see, not all storms are storms of correction. Some are storms of perfection. And God loves us enough. He wants to guide us. And He wants to grow us. And so He knows what's best for us. And so verse 38, they said to Jesus, don't you care that we're perishing? But what was neat is that Jesus was already there. Someone said if Jesus is near, there's no need to fear. How quickly we forget that. How quickly we forget that we're saved. And so remember His presence. His promise. Rely upon His presence. Rest in His presence. And rely on His power. That's my first call. Jesus stood up, verse 39. The Bible says that He did two things. Most of the time we look at it and say He just done one thing. He done two things. The Bible says that He rebuked unbelief. The word rebuke is the same word that's used when it talks about Jesus encountering demons. He rebuked the demon. And the word literally means sit down. Get down in my presence. Don't you rise up and sit down. And that's what Jesus said to the wind. Sit down. And then it says He spoke to the waves. He rebuked the wind and He spoke to the waves. And when it says He spoke to the waves, it means to be quiet, to be muzzled. And so literally, you know what He was saying? He was saying, sit down and be quiet to the sea. And instantly, the Bible says in verse 39, that it became calm. Now, that's a miracle in itself. So you know, most of you have been to the ocean, most of you have been out on the lakes. You think you've been there when the wind begins to blow, the wind begins to blow, and the waves will begin to get stirred up. Well, sometimes the wind will move on and calm down, but the waves continue to roll, but not here. See, when He spoke, the wind calmed and the waves calmed. Only Jesus can do that. He can take care of the problem, and He can take care of the circumstances from the problem. He can get you through all of that. And so we need to rely upon His power in times like that. Psalm 107 verse 29 says, He calms the storm so that the waves are still. Jesus did not keep the storm from striking that boat, but He did keep the storm from sinking. And friend, that's exactly what He'll do in our life. So we see the end of the story is really in the next chapter, chapter 5, verse 1. It says, and side to your storm. There's another side. We're seeing the other side to Michael's storm now as he's sharing his testimony and God is using him. We're seeing the other side to what God has brought him through. And so as I wrap this up this morning, there's a couple of lessons. There's a couple of things that we can take away. First of all, there's a lesson about our faith. See, those disciples, Jesus said, he said to the disciples, why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith? Verse 4. See, they had already seen him do miracles. In Mark chapter 1, they'd seen him deal with demons. They'd seen him heal demons. No, Mark chapter 2, he touched a lame man and he got up and walked. Mark chapter 3, there was a man with a withered hand. He restored that. Now here, in Mark chapter 4, they were doubting. He said, why is it that you doubt? James tells us that when we pray, we must pray believing without doubt. Because if you doubt, you're like a wave of the sea. You're not receiving the Lord. So doubt is the danger. In fact, doubt was a greater danger to the disciples than the storm was. It wasn't the storm that was the problem. It was their doubt. And that gets real close to home, doesn't it? Because if we know he's got the storm, he's got us, yet we become fearful. So there's a lesson about faith, there's a lesson about fear. I read this, or a great definition or acronym for fear. It means forgetting every available resource. That's what fear is. See, God is a refuge in times of storm. He's a resource. God is a stronghold in times of attack. He's a resource. And when we doubt and when we struggle in times of storm, we're forgetting the resource that God is. So we all need storms. Storms cause us to get into God's will. Storms cause us to grow. And so even the storm that you're in, God wants to teach us. Remember His promise while we're praying. Rest in His presence. He's with you. He said, I'll never leave you, never forsake you in our lives. Because God can do the amazing. Who would have ever thought that Michael would only serve a few months when he's facing a life of 25 years? God. Oh, God. So as I close today, I want to close with a story about a man in Armenia. In 1989, there was a terrible earthquake in Armenia. And 30,000 people. There was a man there, he had a son named Armand. And each day he would walk Armand to school. He would tell Armand daily, I will always be here for you. I will always be here for you. That boy knew that from the time he was just a baby all the way up through his life. He knew his dad said, I will always be here for you. Well, there was the earthquake, and it's just total destruction. Total destruction. And the man just was off pieces. He just broke down, wept. And he heard that the school, elementary school, that mine, he was destroyed and they would, survive. He wept for a period of time, and then he remembered the promise he made to that boy. I will always be here. And he got up and he dried his tears and he made his way to the school. When he got to the school, he began to dig away at the rubble, just broken rocks and bricks and things of that nature. And he dug and dug and dug. tried to enlist other people to help him, and they all said, "Oh, there's no use." They said there's no survivors, no way anybody can survive this. He even tried to get a policeman to help him. The policeman wouldn't help him. But he wouldn't quit. And so for 36 hours straight, he dug the rubble till his hands literally, just his palms were just slipping and shredded off the bone, digging those rocks. And they said, "You've got to stop. You've got to stop." He said, "I will not stop. I made my son a promise." And so for 2 more hours, he dug and dug. All the while he's crying out, "Armand! Armand! Armand!" And then at the 38th hour or thereabouts, he heard a voice. "Father, is that you? Armand! Armand! Father, is that you? Yes, it's me! Armand! Armand!" And Armand said, "Father, I told the rest of them, if you'd saved me, you'd save them too." And he continued to dig, and others finally joined in the dig, and they dug out a number of students that everybody had counted for loss. That's what happens when we do it. We count things for loss. And he dug him out, and they celebrated. And then later that day, as they're making their way home, the father stopped. He said, "Armand, how did you know it was me? How did you know